Hello, and welcome to Wired for Learning, Neuroscience Strategies for Performance. I'm Stella Collins. I'm Chief Learning Officer and co-founder at Stella Labs, and I'm the author of Neuroscience for Learning and Development. We've got some big opportunities open to us because of the massive changes that are going on in our world. However, there's some big challenges too. There's an enormous skills gap, and we can help to beat that skills gap by filling it with people who can perform and do their jobs well. However, there's also some big challenges because though 330 billion euros is spent every year on training, only about 12 to 20% of people actively apply what they learn into the workplace. That means we're wasting huge amounts of money, but we're also wasting time, energy, and goodwill. People have got stuck in a knowledge trap. We're too focused on sharing content and giving people access to content and not enough on actually building skills. This means nobody's really satisfied. Learners are uncomfortable in their job. They're not confident because they don't see the relevance for what they're learning and how that applies to their jobs now, but also how they're going to build skills for the future and for their future careers. For L&D, there's a challenge because they can see they're not having the impact that's required, and that's reducing their credibility with the rest of the business. Subject matter experts are often asked to deliver training, but they're frustrated because they don't really know how to deliver learning. They're not trainers, they've got other jobs to do, and this is just a part-time activity for them. So they end up frustrated when they can't also see the impact of skills building. And of course, CEOs are frustrated because they can see there's no return on the investment they're putting in, whether it's time or money, and therefore budgets are being cut, and we know that budgets are being cut right now because of current challenges. So we need to have a reset. We need to really think about what our purpose is and why we do learning. So what is learning and why do we do it in a business context? So learning is a change in knowledge or behavior as a result of experience. The reason we do it in business is because we want our people to grow, to have new skills, to build their careers. We want businesses to grow and to innovate. And basically, we want them to survive and to thrive. So how do we really learn? How do we learn to perform? Think back to how you learned to ride a bike. You didn't learn it by watching a video, reading a book, doing some e-learning. You didn't even do it through VR. No, of course, you had to get on a bike, usually a very small bike, specially designed to support you in your developing skill. You probably had your parents hanging onto the back of it to start you off with. You did it, multiple times. You fell over multiple times. You hurt yourself. You scraped your knees. You kept practicing because you were motivated. You wanted to learn to ride a bike. It was something exciting that you wanted to be able to do. And as time progressed, you went from, trainer wheels or a balance bike to a slightly bigger bike. But you weren't even allowed out on the road yet because, that would be too risky. So first of all, you had to practice in a safe environment with support, continued support. Then eventually you start to use those skills in a real environment. Perhaps you cycle to school, often with the help of other people, until eventually, you began to be able to cycle successfully and capably on your own. While you're doing all that practicing, all that failing, all that practicing over and over again, your brain connections were being wired until they were strong enough that you could steer, signal, maneuver, and navigate all at the same time, possibly while checking your mobile phone. Every skill works the same. This is a a methodology based on neuroscience. This is how learning really happens. This makes it easier to see than just thinking about riding a bike. This helps to unpick the model. So the focus is on transfer. This is about skills. This is about performing in the workplace. The green line is all about motivation and engagement. If we don't feel motivated to learn, if we don't want to learn, very little actually happens. And learning is hard work. We need desirable difficulty in order to learn. We need multiple different things to happen, and learning takes place over time. So things change. Practice can be very boring. Practice can be difficult. Failure is also not pleasant. So we need to keep motivated throughout. We need to have people really engaged. The first part of most learning journeys starts with guide. Most organizations are doing this. content, information, something to get you started. Very important, but important that it's not cognitively overloaded. Then comes the experiment phase where you're practicing, but still in a safe or protected environment where it doesn't matter if you fail, so that you develop that confidence to feel that, yes, I can actually do this for real. And then comes the really important bit where you start to apply what you're learning actually in the workplace. This is where you really begin to learn, because this is where circumstances change. This is where you have to learn to adapt to different ways of being, different ways of working, different ways of performing the same skill. This is genuinely when learning starts to happen. But what you need here is support. You need to have the organization support you, people in the organization support you, so that you're actively applying and repeating over and over again. And then finally, there's the retention piece, making sure that you really retain the new skills, the new information for the long term. And that needs spaced practice and spaced repetition. If you don't follow that whole neuroscience path, those connections may get initiated, but they don't get to stick for the long term. Let's have a look at where you think you are right now. And I want you to be honest here. Ask yourself, are you genuinely beating the skills gap? Or are you perhaps stuck in the knowledge trap? Many organizations manage the guide part very well, and many do experiment, but it often fails when people go back into the workplace. So which elements of gear are you confidently using in your current role? And what are you going to do to change them, to add the rest, to make sure those skills are built, to make sure those neural connections are strong, to make sure those new behaviors become the norm, become habits? Now, in this current world, we can't forget about AI. AI is everywhere. What AI allows us to do is to amplify whatever you're currently doing. So if you're currently stuck in the knowledge trap, if you're currently really focusing on delivering content, AI is really useful in delivering more content. But as Don Taylor talks about, we're going to end up with a beige wave of content, information that's not quite as good as the previous information, but there's a huge amount of it. And that doesn't help build skills. If you're stuck in the knowledge trap and you're measuring completion rates, have people completed looking through all this information? That gives you some helpful information, but it's not helping you track whether people are actually building skills. What you need to track is the full journey. Can you see people apply their skills in the workplace? However you capture that information is really vital. When you've got strong foundations to learning, you can actually use AI to generate really good, complex, complete transfer journeys. And that can increase the impact, that can increase the amount of transfer that happens by up to 5%. You can design much faster with AI, but there's no good just designing the content. You have to design all the other activities that go with it. And people have to put those activities into place. So those need to be tracked in the workplace. Collecting relevant data is really important. Once you've got the relevant data, then AI can really help you analyze and work out what to do next. Work out the next steps to help your people build their skills. Let's think about this particular organization that I did mention before. I didn't mention their name before, but this is the problem they were stuck in previously. They found that they had all the challenges of learners not engaged, L&D were feeling frustrated, subject matter experts were certainly frustrated, and they weren't able to get enough confidence from their CEO to actually continue to build skills in the workplace. Now what they've done, they've implemented Stella Labs. They're blending neuroscience, AI, and the people in the business to come together so that everybody raises performance. The L&D team are really happy because they're not spending all their time nudging subject matter experts to produce less slides. The subject matter experts really like the fact they're working with an evidence-based methodology. They feel confident that what they're now designing is working. And the CEO is happy because they can see that there is an actual impact happening. Skills are developing and changing in the workplace. So the L&D team is going to grow. And of course, learners are also happy because they recognize the skills they're now learning. They feel that they're getting the impact they need. The skills they're now learning are relevant to what they do, and they can see that they're future-proofing their careers too. How will you wire your people for performance? What are you going to do to help people build that full learning journey so they build their skills so they're actually performing in the workplace? Thank you very much for listening today. Please ask me if you have some more ideas about how to raise performance, and there's some useful resources available for you here today. Thank you.